In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, countless stars twinkled against the backdrop of infinite darkness. For millennia, the galaxy had known a delicate balance of power and peace, maintained by the watchful eye of the Galactic Council. This august body, composed of representatives from the most advanced alien civilizations, had long prided itself on its ability to foresee and neutralize any threat to galactic stability. But as the old Earth saying goes, pride often comes before a fall. On a typical day in the Council's magnificent floating citadel, alarm klaxons suddenly blared to life. The Citadel's pristine white halls, usually filled with the soft murmur of diplomatic discussions, erupted into chaos. Aliens of all shapes and sizes, some with tentacles, others with multiple eyes, and a few that seemed to be living clouds of gas, rushed about in panic. At the heart of this pandemonium stood High Counselor Zixnera, her 7 eyes blinking rapidly as she absorbed the flood of information pouring in from every corner of the galaxy. Her iridescent scales shifted color from a calm blue to an agitated red as the gravity of the situation became clear. "Impossible," she muttered, her normally melodious voice now harsh with disbelief. "How could we have missed this?" The threat that had caught the mighty Galactic Council off guard came from the outer rim of the galaxy, a region long thought to be uninhabited and unimportant. A race of beings, previously unknown and unseen, had suddenly emerged from the darkness between the stars. They called themselves the Voidborn, and their intentions were far from peaceful. Reports flooded in from distant outposts and frontier worlds. The Voidborn ships were like nothing the Council had ever encountered before. They seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, making them nearly invisible against the backdrop of space. Their weapons tore through the most advanced shields as if they were made of paper. Whole planets fell silent within hours of a Voidborn fleet's arrival. In the Council chambers, heated debates raged. Some argued for immediate military action, while others insisted on attempting diplomatic contact. A few even suggested surrendering outright, hoping to appease the mysterious invaders. Zixnera listened to it all, her mind racing. She had served on the Council for over 300 cycles, longer than most species' entire recorded histories. Never had she faced a crisis of this magnitude. "Silence," she finally roared, her voice cutting through the cacophony like a plasma blade. The chamber fell quiet, all eyes, or equivalent sensory organs, turning to her. "We cannot afford to bicker among ourselves," Zixnera declared. "This threat requires a united response. We must gather our fleets, fortify our core worlds, and prepare for war." Her words sent a ripple of shock through the assembly. The Galactic Council had not fought a full-scale war in 10,000 years. Many of the younger races represented had never known true conflict. But as the gravity of the situation sank in, heads began to nod in agreement. One by one, the representatives pledged their world's resources to the coming fight. As the Council mobilized, reports continued to pour in from across the galaxy. The Voidborn's advance seemed unstoppable. They moved with a purpose and coordination that suggested a hive mind, yet each of their ships demonstrated a chilling autonomy in battle. On the mineral-rich world of Clothor, the native rock-like Petrons watched in horror as Voidborn ships descended from the sky. The invaders' weapons reduced entire mountain ranges to rubble in minutes. The Petrons' stone-carved cities, which had stood for millennia, crumbled to dust. In the gas giant Jubilus, the floating cities of the aeroforms were set ablaze by weapons that somehow ignited the very atmosphere. Billions of gaseous beings dissipated into nothingness, their final screams lost in the howling winds of their dying world. The aquatic world of Hydros 9 fared no better. The Voidborn ships plunged into the planet-spanning ocean, their hulls somehow withstanding pressures that would have crushed any known vessel. The native Ichthians, masters of bioengineering, found their living ships and organic technology useless against the invaders' advanced weaponry. As world after world fell, the Galactic Council's mighty fleets scrambled to respond. But the galaxy was vast, and the Voidborn strikes came swiftly and without warning. More often than not, council ships arrived only to find devastated worlds and eerily empty space where once thriving civilizations had stood. In her private chambers, Zixnera pored over battle reports and strategic analyses. The more she learned about the Voidborn, the more her heart sank. The invaders seemed to possess technology far beyond anything the council races had achieved. They could traverse vast distances in the blink of an eye. Their weapons ignored the laws of physics as the council understood them, and their motives remained a complete mystery. High Counselor, a voice interrupted her grim musings. She looked up to see her aide, a young Luminian whose bioluminescent patterns betrayed his anxiety. "What is it, Glowfeather?" she asked, using the informal name she had given him. We've lost contact with the Zenther system," he reported, his voice quavering. Zixnera felt as if she had been struck. The Zenther system was home to one of the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. Its fall was unthinkable. "How?" she demanded. "The Zentharians have defensive capabilities that rival our own." Glowfeather's patterns shifted to a deep blue of sorrow. "We don't know, High Counselor. One moment they were there, the next, silence. Our long-range scans show nothing. It's as if the entire system has vanished." Zixnera slumped in her chair, the weight of billions of lives lost pressing down on her. The Galactic Council, for all its power and advanced technology, was failing. Their strategies, honed over millennia of peace, were proving woefully inadequate against this new, incomprehensible threat. As she grappled with the magnitude of the crisis, a thought nagged at the back of her mind. There was one world, one species, that the Council had long ignored. A primitive quarantine planet on the outskirts of the galaxy. A world of beings known for their unpredictability, their adaptability, and their inexplicable ability to achieve the impossible. Earth. Humans. The Council had long decided that humans were too volatile, too dangerous to be brought into the galactic community. But now, facing an enemy that defied all logic and strategy, perhaps what they needed was some human unpredictability. Zixnera straightened in her chair, a new determination filling her. "Glowfeather," she said, her voice steadier than it had been in days, "prepare a scout ship. It's time we paid a visit to a little blue planet called Earth." As the aide hurried to comply, Zixnera turned to gaze out at the star-filled void. Somewhere out there, the Voidborn were advancing, bringing death and destruction. And somewhere out there was Earth, a world of beings who might just be crazy enough, just adaptable enough, to turn the tide. The galaxy's fate, though none yet knew it, now rested in the hands of a species that still thought digital watches were a pretty neat idea. The stage was set. The greatest war in galactic history was about to begin, and humanity was about to step onto the cosmic stage. Earth's isolation and advancement. While the Galactic Council grappled with the Voidborn threat, Earth spun on, blissfully unaware of the cosmic drama unfolding around it. To the average person on the street, aliens were still the stuff of science fiction, and humanity's biggest concerns were climate change, political tensions, and the latest smartphone release. But in secret laboratories and hidden government facilities around the world, a select few knew different. They had seen the signs, intercepted the signals, and pieced together a startling truth. Earth was not alone in the universe. Dr. Samantha Chen stood at the heart of this clandestine effort. A brilliant astrophysicist with a knack for thinking outside the box, she had been recruited by a shadowy international organization, known only as Project Stargazer. Their mission: to prepare humanity for the day when contact with alien life became inevitable. On a crisp autumn morning, Samantha strode into the underground facility buried deep beneath the New Mexico desert. The air hummed with the sound of powerful computers and exotic machinery. Scientists and engineers from every corner of the globe worked feverishly, pushing the boundaries of human knowledge and technology. "Dr. Chen," a voice called out. Samantha turned to see her colleague, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, rushing towards her with a tablet in hand. "You need to see this." Samantha's eyes widened as she scanned the data on the screen. "Are you sure about this, Yuki?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Yuki nodded emphatically. "Triple-checked. The signal's unmistakable. There's some kind of massive energy disturbance happening just beyond Mars' orbit. For years, Project Stargazer had been detecting anomalous signals from deep space. But this was something entirely new, and it was happening right in Earth's backyard." As word spread through the facility, a palpable sense of excitement mixed with trepidation filled the air. This could be it, the moment they had all been preparing for. Meanwhile, in low Earth orbit, the International Space Station had undergone a secret transformation. What the public saw as routine upgrades and expansions were, in reality, the first steps towards creating humanity's first true spaceship. Commander Lai Wei floated in the new observation dome, his eyes fixed on the vast expanse of stars. After 2 decades in the Chinese space program, he thought he had seen it all. But the technology surrounding him now made his head spin. Gravity plating that defied the laws of physics as he understood them. Energy shields that could theoretically withstand the impact of a small asteroid. And propulsion systems that promised to reduce travel time to Mars from months to mere days. "Beautiful, isn't it?" a voice said behind him. Lai turned to see his second-in-command, Major Sarah O'Connor, floating into the dome. "It's incredible," Lai agreed. "Sometimes I still can't believe we've come this far so quickly." Sarah nodded. "The eggheads down in Stargazer have been busy, but I can't shake the feeling that we're racing against the clock." Liz's expression turned serious. "You've seen the latest reports?" "Yeah," Sarah replied. "Whatever's happening out there, it's getting closer. We might not have as much time as we thought." Back on Earth, in the halls of power, leaders grappled with a monumental decision. For years, they had kept the existence of alien life a secret from the public, fearing panic and social upheaval. But with signs of impending contact growing stronger by the day, the question was no longer if they should reveal the truth, but when and how. In the Oval Office, President Emily Rodriguez paced back and forth, the weight of the world on her shoulders. Her chief of staff, James Morton, watched her with concern. "Madam President," he began cautiously, "the Joint Chiefs are pushing for full disclosure. They argue that we need to unite the planet if we're going to face whatever's coming." Emily stopped pacing and turned to face him. "And risk global panic, economic meltdown. We've kept this secret for a reason, James. With all due respect, ma'am, we might not have a choice anymore. Dr. Chen's latest report suggests we could be looking at open contact within months, not years." The president sighed heavily. "Get me a secure line to Beijing, Moscow, and Brussels. If we're going to do this, we need to be united." As world leaders debated, the scientific community worked tirelessly to push human technology to its limits and beyond. Breakthroughs that would have once taken decades now happened in months or even weeks. In a sprawling research complex outside Tokyo, Dr. Hikaru Seto stood before a holographic display, manipulating complex molecular structures with a wave of her hand. Her team had been tasked with developing new materials capable of withstanding the rigors of deep space travel. "Eureka!" she suddenly exclaimed, startling her colleagues. "Look at this molecular alignment. If we can replicate this on a larger scale, we could create a whole material 10 times stronger than anything we have now, at a fraction of the weight." Similar scenes played out in laboratories and research centers around the world. In Silicon Valley, AI researchers achieved a breakthrough in quantum computing that promised to revolutionize everything from cryptography to space navigation. In a secret facility beneath the Swiss Alps, physicists fine-tuned a prototype faster-than-light communication system, though its range was still limited to the solar system. But perhaps the most significant advancements came in the field of defense technology. In the skies above Nevada, test pilot Captain Miguel Herrera put a new aircraft through its paces. To call it a jet would be an understatement. The sleek, black vehicle moved with a grace that seemed to defy the laws of physics as Miguel pushed the throttle forward. The horizon blurred. In seconds, he had broken the sound barrier. In under a minute, he was at the edge of space. Warning klaxons blared in his helmet as the craft detected something approaching at incredible speed. "Control, this is Starcatcher 1, Miguel radioed, his voice tense. "I've got a bogey on approach. Please advise." There was a moment of static before a calm voice replied. "Starcatcher 1, this is Control. Relax. Captain, that's just your wingman catching up." Miguel's jaw dropped as another craft, identical to his own, pulled alongside him in the inky blackness of near space. He hadn't even seen it approach. As the two craft danced among the stars, pushed the boundaries of what was possible, a new signal reached the ears of Project Stargazer. Deep in the New Mexico facility, computers churned as they processed the incoming data. Dr. Samantha Chen's face paled as she interpreted the results. "Oh my God," she whispered. "What is it?" Yuki asked, concern evident in his voice. Samantha looked up, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and excitement. "It's a message," she said. "An alien message, and it's not coming from deep space." She pointed to a blinking dot on the star chart displayed on the main screen. It was just beyond the orbit of Mars. "They're here," Samantha said. "And I think they need our help." As the implications of this discovery began to sink in, alarms started blaring throughout the facility. Humanity's isolation was about to end, ready or not. The next chapter in Earth's history was about to begin, and it would be written among the stars. The Voidborn strike. The Galactic Council's grand citadel, once a beacon of hope and unity, now resembled a war room from ancient times. Holograms flickered, showing real-time battle data from 100 worlds. The air was thick with tension and the acrid smell of alien sweat. High Counselor Zixnera's scales had long since settled into a deep, troubled purple. She hadn't slept in what felt like eons, her seven eyes bloodshot and weary. "Report," she commanded, her voice hoarse. A Quantarian, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline shell, floated forward. "High Counselor, the Voidborn have breached the defenses of the Andromeda Arm. The Zeta-9 system has fallen." A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. Zeta-9 was home to some of the most advanced defensive technology in the galaxy. If it had fallen, Zixnera's mandibles clicked in agitation. "And what of the Terran system? Have we made contact?" Before anyone could answer, alarms blared. A massive hologram materialized in the center of the room, showing a star map of the galaxy. Red dots, representing Voidborn fleets, were spreading like a virus. "By the cosmic egg," someone whispered. "They're everywhere." Across the galaxy, the Voidborn struck with terrifying precision and power. On the crystalline world of Lumina Prime, the Voidborn ships descended like dark clouds, blotting out the triple suns. The Luminians, beings of pure light, found their radiant cities dimmed for the first time in millennia. Their light-based weapons, capable of vaporizing entire asteroids, seemed to pass harmlessly through the Voidborn ships. Krax, a young Luminian warrior, watched in horror as his comrades' beams of concentrated light were absorbed by the void-black hulls of the enemy ships. "Fall back," he shouted, his voice a melody of light frequencies. "Retreat to the core chambers." But it was too late. The Voidborn weapons fired, not energy or projectiles, but what looked like liquid darkness. Where it touched, light itself seemed to die. Krax saw his fellow warriors flicker and fade, their essence consumed by the unnatural shadows. As he fled deeper into the planet's crystal core, Krax managed to send one last distress signal to the Galactic Council. "Lumina Prime has fallen. The light is going out." In the gas giant Zeus, the floating cities of the aeroforms were in chaos. The Voidborn ships, somehow able to withstand the crushing pressures and violent storms, rose from the planet's core like malevolent bubbles. Captain Zafira of the Aeroform Defense Force watched from her command bubble as the enemy ships approached. "Deploy the cyclone cannons," she ordered, her voice a whisper on the wind. The Aeroform's most powerful weapons, capable of generating storms that could tear apart most ships, fired. For a moment, hope surged as the Voidborn fleet was engulfed in swirling maelstroms of hyper-compressed gas. But as the artificial storms cleared, the Voidborn ships emerged unscathed. They retaliated with weapons that ignited the very atmosphere. Saphira watched in horror as her people, beings of living gas, combusted in great plumes of fire. "Evacuate the upper levels," she cried, but in her heart, she knew it was futile. Zeus, with its centuries of aeroform culture and history, was burning from the inside out. On the ocean world of Hydros 9, the aquatic Ichthyans mounted a desperate defense. Their bioengineered leviathans, each the size of a small moon, rose from the depths to challenge the invaders. Admiral Finn, his iridescent scales flashing with bioluminescent battle signals, coordinated the attack from within the neural network of his flagship Leviathan. "All units, converge on the largest enemy vessel. Concentrate your sonic attacks." The Leviathans unleashed devastating blasts of sound, powerful enough to split the ocean itself. For a brief, glorious moment, it seemed to work. The Voidborn ship's strange, light-absorbing hull vibrated, showing the first signs of vulnerability they had seen. But then, the Voidborn counterattacked. Beams of absolute cold lanced out, flash-freezing vast swathes of the ocean. Ichthyan warriors found themselves trapped in ice that shouldn't be possible in their warm, tropical world. Admiral Finn felt his Leviathan's pain as chunks of its living flesh were frozen and shattered. "All units, retreat to the deep trenches," he ordered, but it was too late. The last thing he saw before his neural link was severed was the surface of his beloved ocean world freezing over, becoming a tomb of ice. Back in the Galactic Council Citadel, reports of devastation poured in from every corner of the galaxy. Worlds that had known peace for millennia were falling in hours. Civilizations that had reached the stars before Earth's first microbes were being wiped out in the blink of an eye. High Counselor Zixnera slumped in her chair, the weight of billions of lost lives pressing down on her. "How?" she whispered. "How can they be everywhere at once?" A young temporal, a being who existed partially outside of time, stepped forward. "High Counselor," it said, its voice echoing strangely as if coming from multiple points in time simultaneously. "We've analyzed the Voidborn attack patterns. They're not bound by normal space-time." Zixnera's eyes widened. "Explain," she demanded. The temporal's form flickered as it accessed multiple time streams. "They're attacking from the past, present, and future simultaneously. That's why our defenses are failing. We're not just fighting them here and now, but across all of time." A stunned silence fell over the council chamber. How could they fight an enemy that attacked from all of time itself? As if in answer to their despair, a communication channel crackled to life. A voice, speaking in a language none of them had heard before, came through. "This is Dr. Samantha Chen of Earth. We've received your distress signal. We stand ready to assist. Please respond." Zixnera and the other council members exchanged looks of shock and desperate hope. The primitive world they had long ignored was reaching out, offering help in their darkest hour. But before they could respond, proximity alarms blared. On the giant hologram, a massive fleet of Voidborn ships appeared, heading straight for the council citadel. "Brace for impact," Zixnera shouted as the first Voidborn ships opened fire. The citadel shuddered under the assault. As chaos erupted around her, Zixnera made a decision that would change the course of the war. "Send coordinates to the humans," she ordered. Tell them they're our last hope." As the message was sent, the Citadel's defenses began to fail. The Voidborn were breaking through. The heart of galactic civilization was about to fall. But somewhere out there, on a small blue planet, humanity was gearing up for a fight they never expected. The galaxy's fate now rested in the hands of the very species the Council had deemed too volatile to join their ranks. As darkness fell over the Citadel, a small spark of hope flickered to life. The Voidborn had the advantage of time and space, but they were about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon had always been its unpredictability. The stage was set for the greatest underdog story in galactic history: humanity's discovery. The night sky over New Mexico was unusually active. Streaks of light crisscrossed the heavens, too fast and erratic to be shooting stars. At the secret Project Stargazer facility buried deep in the desert, alarms blared ceaselessly. Dr. Samantha Chen raced through the corridors, her lab coat flapping behind her. She burst into the main control room, breathless. "What's happening?" she demanded. Her colleague, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, looked up from a bank of monitors, his face pale. "Sam, you're not going to believe this. We've got multiple objects entering the atmosphere. And they're slowing down." Samantha's eyes widened. "Natural objects don't slow down on entry." "Are you saying?" "They're ships, Sam," Yuki finished for her. "Alien ships, and one of them is on a direct course for us." Outside, in the cool desert night, a group of Project Stargazer's security personnel had taken up defensive positions. They were an elite unit, trained for scenarios that most of the world thought were pure science fiction. But nothing could have prepared them for what they saw next. A ship, sleek and silver, streaked across the sky. It was trailing smoke and flame, clearly damaged. As it approached, it began to lose altitude rapidly. "It's going to crash," someone shouted. The ship hit the ground with a deafening roar, skidding across the desert floor in a shower of sparks and debris. When it finally came to a stop, an eerie silence fell over the area. Inside the facility, Samantha and Yuki watched the external camera feeds with bated breath. "We need to get out there," Samantha said, already moving towards the exit. "Sam, wait," Yuki called after her. "We don't know if it's safe." But Samantha was already gone, racing towards the elevator that would take her to the surface. By the time she emerged into the cool night air, a perimeter had been established around the crashed ship. As she approached, flanked by armed guards, the ship's hull began to shimmer. A section of it simply melted away, forming an opening. And from that opening emerged a being. It was roughly humanoid, but its skin shimmered with iridescent scales. It had 7 eyes, arranged in a circle around its head, and instead of a mouth, it had mandibles that clicked softly as it breathed the Earth's air for the first time. The being took one step forward and then collapsed. "We need a medical team here now," Samantha shouted, rushing forward despite the protests of the security team. As she knelt beside the alien, its eyes focused on her, it raised a hand, holding what looked like a small glowing crystal. "Take, please," it managed to say in broken English before losing consciousness. Hours later, in a hastily prepared quarantine room, Samantha stood before a group of the world's top scientists and government officials. The alien lay on a bed behind her, surrounded by medical equipment that beeped steadily. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "what we've suspected for years is now confirmed. We are not alone in the universe, but more importantly, we are needed." She held up the crystal the alien had given her. "This contains a message, a distress call from something called the Galactic Council. They're at war, facing an enemy they call the Voidborn, and they're losing." The murmur ran through the assembled group. The President of the United States, who had flown in personally after hearing the news, stepped forward. "Dr. Chen, are you saying that an advanced alien civilization is asking us for help?" Samantha nodded. "Yes, Madam President, but it's more than that. The message contains technical specifications, scientific knowledge far beyond our current understanding. It's as if they're trying to give us a crash course in advanced galactic civilization." "Why us?" someone in the back asked. "Why Earth?" Before Samantha could answer, a weak voice came from behind her. The alien had regained consciousness. "Because," it said, its English improving rapidly, as if it were learning the language in real time, "you are unique, unpredictable, adaptable. You are our last hope." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity, long thought to be alone in the cosmos, was not only discovering alien life, but being called upon to save it. Over the next few days, as world leaders were briefed and plans were made, more information came to light. The alien, who introduced itself as Zixnera, explained the dire situation facing the galaxy. The Voidborn are unlike anything we've ever encountered, Zixnera told a rapt audience of scientists and military leaders. They exist partially outside of normal spacetime. Our most advanced weapons are useless against them. But you humans have a way of thinking that's different. You find solutions where we see only problems. As if to underscore the point, reports began coming in from around the world. The damaged alien ships that had entered Earth's atmosphere had crashed in various locations, and in each place, local humans had not responded with fear, but with ingenuity. In a small village in Africa, locals had used centuries-old herbal remedies to stabilize injured alien crew members when modern medicine had failed. In Japan, a team of robotics engineers had already begun reverse engineering parts of a crashed ship, making breakthroughs that would have taken decades under normal circumstances. And in a garage in Silicon Valley, a group of college dropouts had taken the alien crystal technology and created a prototype communication device that could potentially breach the Voidborn's space-time distortions. As Samantha reviewed these reports, a plan began to form in her mind. "We need to pool our resources," she told the president, "not just as a nation, but as a planet. If we're going to face this threat, we need every unique perspective, every out-of-the-box idea we can get." The president nodded gravely. "I'll convene an emergency session of the UN. It's time we told the world the truth." And so, on a historic night, people around the globe tuned in to an unprecedented joint broadcast. Leaders from every nation stood side by side as the truth was finally revealed. Earth was not alone, and it was being called to action. The response was not the panic many had feared. Instead, a wave of determination swept across the planet. Humanity, with all its flaws and divisions, found a common purpose. As the sun rose on a new era, shipyards that had once built aircraft carriers now began constructing humanity's first starships. Laboratories around the world hummed with activity as scientists and engineers worked to upgrade Earth's technology with the knowledge gifted by the Galactic Council. And in orbit, the International Space Station began its transformation into the nerve center of Earth's new space fleet. Humanity had made its discovery. Now it was preparing for war. The Voidborn had conquered much of the galaxy, but they were about to face an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. For the first time in galactic history, the most primitive civilization in the Galactic Council was about to become its greatest defender. The age of humanity had begun. Earth's unexpected intervention. The hum of activity in Earth's first interstellar shipyard was deafening. What was once Cape Canaveral had been transformed into a hive of construction, with massive scaffoldings reaching towards the sky. At the center of it all stood humanity's hope. The HSS Prometheus, Earth's first true starship. Captain Jane Rodriguez stood on a viewing platform, her eyes fixed on the gleaming hull of the Prometheus. Even after months of work, it was hard to believe how far they'd come. "Impressive, isn't it?" a voice said beside her. Jane turned to see Dr. Samantha Chen, the astrophysicist who had become the face of Earth's new space program. Jane nodded. "When I joined the Navy, I never imagined I'd be captaining a ship that could cross the galaxy." Samantha smiled. "Well, Captain, are you ready to make history?" Before Jane could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Both women's communicators buzzed simultaneously. "This is not a drill," a voice announced. "Voidborn ships detected entering the solar system. All personnel to battle stations." Jane's face hardened. "Looks like history's coming to us," she said, already sprinting towards the Prometheus. "Doctor, get to the command center." Across the globe, similar scenes played out. In the depths of the Gobi Desert, Chinese quantum computers spun up, their alien-enhanced algorithms searching for weaknesses in the Voidborn approach. In Brazilian rainforests, Biologists who had been studying alien DNA scrambled to finalize their organic countermeasures. High above the Earth, the International Space Station, now renamed Orbital Defense Platform Alpha, hummed to life. It hastily retrofitted weapon systems, a mix of human ingenuity and alien tech, powered up for the first time. In the White House Situation Room, the President of the United States stood surrounded by holographic displays showing the approaching void-borne fleet. "How many?" she asked, her voice tight. A general stepped forward. "At least 100 ships, Madam President, more than we've ever seen in one place." The President's jaw clenched. "And our defenses? The Prometheus is ready for launch. Orbital platforms are online. Ground-based ion cannons are charged, but..." The general hesitated. "But what?" "But we've never faced them in actual combat. All our simulations, all our preparations, this is the real test." The President nodded gravely. "Then let's hope humanity is as adaptable as our alien friends believe. Give the order. Operation Cosmic Shield is a go." In orbit, Captain Jane Rodriguez settled into the command chair of the Prometheus. The bridge hummed with nervous energy as her crew, a mix of the world's best pilots, engineers, and soldiers, manned their stations. "All systems green, Captain," her first officer reported. "Alien-derived FTL drive is spooled and ready." Jane took a deep breath. "All right, people. This is what we've trained for. Let's show these Voidborn what humanity can do. Helm, take us out." With a sound like thunder, the Prometheus lifted off, its advanced engines leaving no fiery trail like the rockets of old. In seconds, it was in orbit. In minutes, it was past the moon. As the Prometheus approached the edge of the solar system, the first Voidborn ships came into view. They were just as the aliens had described. Sleek, black vessels that seemed to absorb light itself. "Tactical. What are we looking at?" Jane asked. Her tactical officer, a young woman from Kenya, studied her readings. "Sir, the Voidborn ships are. They're not quite there. Sensors show them phasing in and out of our reality." Jane frowned. This was what they'd feared. Conventional weapons would be useless. "All right, let's try something unconventional. Activate the Thompson device." Named after the garage inventor who'd crafted it from alien crystals, the Thompson device was Earth's wild card. In theory, it could disrupt the Voidborn's ability to phase between realities. As the device powered up, the Voidborn ships suddenly seemed to solidify. "It's working," the tactical officer exclaimed. "They're fully in our plane of existence. All weapons, fire at will," Jane ordered. The space around the Prometheus lit up as energy beams and missiles streaked towards the Voidborn fleet. For the first time in the Galactic War, Voidborn ships began to explode. Back on Earth, in the underground command center of Project Stargazer, Dr. Samantha Chen watched the battle unfold with a mix of awe and terror. Beside her, the alien Zixnera clicked its mandibles in what seemed like disbelief. "Impossible," Zixnera muttered. "In all our battles, we never..." Samantha allowed herself a small smile. "Never underestimate human ingenuity, my friend." But the battle was far from over. While the Thompson device had leveled the playing field, the Voidborn still outnumbered the Prometheus. And they were learning, adapting to this new threat. In the Brazilian rainforest, Dr. Carlos Mendoza watched the battle telemetry with growing concern. "The Thompson device is weakening," he said into his comm. "We need to deploy the bioweapon now." Hundreds of miles above, Jane received the message. "Bioweapon? What bioweapon?" "Trust me, Captain," Carlos's voice crackled through the comm. "You're going to want to open your bay doors." As Jane gave the order, swarms of what looked like glowing insects poured out of the Prometheus. They streaked towards the Voidborn ships, slipping through their shields as if they weren't there. "What in the world?" Jane muttered. On her view screen, the Voidborn ships began to waver, their sleek forms becoming misshapen and bulbous. "The bioweapon is a virus," Carlos explained, his voice filled with excitement. But not just any virus. We spliced it with tardigrade DNA. It can survive in space, and it's disrupting the Voidborn's molecular structure. Jane watched in amazement as Voidborn ships began to break apart, their once invincible hulls now as fragile as eggshells. In the Project Stargazer Command Center, Zixnera turned all 7 of its eyes to Samantha. "How?" it asked simply. Samantha shrugged, a very human gesture. "We looked at the problem from every angle. Physicists, biologists, even a few science fiction writers. We threw everything we had at it. And something stuck." As the last Voidborn ship crumbled, a cheer went up across the globe. Humanity had faced its first interstellar battle and emerged victorious. But in the White House Situation Room, the president's expression remained grim. "This was just the first wave," she said. "And now they know we can hurt them." She turned to her advisors. "Send word to the Prometheus. Tell them to set a course for the galactic core. It's time we took the fight to the enemy." As the orders were relayed, Captain Jane Rodriguez looked out at the starfield before her. They had won the battle for Earth, but the war for the galaxy was just beginning. With a mix of determination and trepidation, she gave the order. "Helm, prepare for FTL jump. Let's go save the galaxy." The Prometheus's engines flared to life, and in a flash of light, humanity leaped into the greatest adventure in its history. The age of Earth's cosmic intervention had begun. The turning of the tide. The vastness of space stretched out before the HS Prometheus as it dropped out of FTL near the galactic core. Captain Jane Rodriguez stood on the bridge, her eyes widening at the sight before her. Hundreds of ships, representing dozens of alien races, floated in a defensive formation around a massive space station. This was the last stronghold of the Galactic Council, the final bastion against the Voidborn onslaught. "Open a channel," Jane ordered. "Let's introduce ourselves." As the communication officer worked, a proximity alarm blared. "Captain," the tactical officer shouted, "Voidborn fleet incoming." Jane's jaw set. "Looks like introductions will have to wait." Battle stations. The space around them erupted into chaos as the Voidborn attacked. Their black ships seemed to appear from nowhere, striking with devastating precision. But this time, the defenders were ready. "Deploy the Thompson device," Jane commanded. As the device activated, the Voidborn ships suddenly became fully visible, their phasing ability disrupted. A cheer went up from the alien fleet as, for the first time, they saw their enemy clearly. "All ships, this is Captain Rodriguez of Earth," Jane broadcast. "Target the solidified Voidborn ships. Fire at will." The combined fleet unleashed a barrage of weapons fire. Lasers, plasma bolts, and weapons beyond human understanding streaked across space. Voidborn ships, caught off guard by their newfound vulnerability, began to explode. On the Galactic Council station, High Counselor Zixnera watched in awe. "The humans," she whispered. "They've done it." But the Voidborn were quick to adapt. Their ships began to emit a strange, pulsating field that seemed to counteract the Thompson device. "Captain," the science officer called out, "the Voidborn are neutralizing our advantage." Jane gritted her teeth. Time for Plan B, deploy the Mendoza swarms. From the Prometheus and several other Earth ships that had arrived, clouds of glowing, bioengineered microorganisms burst forth. They swarmed towards the Voidborn ships, slipping through shields and hulls alike. The effect was immediate and startling. Voidborn ships began to warp and twist, their once sleek forms becoming bloated and misshapen. "It's working," Jane exclaimed. "All ships, concentrate fire on the infected Voidborn vessels." The tide of battle began to turn. One by one, Voidborn ships were destroyed or disabled. The combined fleet pressed its advantage, pushing the invaders back. On a Zenthari battlecruiser, Commander Xalthar watched in disbelief. "How?" he asked no one in particular. "How are these primitives doing what we could not?" His second-in-command, a young Zenthari named Vex, spoke up. "Sir, I've been analyzing their tactics. They're unpredictable. They combine technologies in ways we never considered. It's as if they don't know what's impossible, so they just do it. Xalthar nodded slowly. Perhaps that is their strength. Signal the humans. Tell them we'll follow their lead. As the battle raged on, more and more alien ships began to coordinate with the Earth vessels. The Prometheus became the de facto command center, with Jane calling out strategies that would have been considered insane by Galactic Council standards just days before. Aeroform ships, use your cyclone cannons to herd the Voidborn into tight clusters, she ordered. Luminian cruisers, hit them with your light beams while they're bunched up. Petran dreadnoughts, use your gravitational weapons to crush what's left. The combination of Earth's innovative tactics and the advanced technology of the Galactic Council races proved devastating. The Voidborn, for the first time since their invasion began, were on the defensive. Back on Earth, in the Project Stargazer Command Center, Dr. Samantha Chen watched the battle unfold with a mix of pride and concern. "They're doing it," she murmured. "They're actually pushing them back." Beside her, a holographic projection of Zixnera nodded. "Your people are remarkable, Dr. Chen. But I fear this is only the beginning. The Voidborn will not take this defeat lightly." As if on cue, alarms began to blare. On the main screen, a massive distortion appeared at the edge of the battlefield. From it emerged a Voidborn ship unlike any they had seen before. It was enormous, easily dwarfing even the largest Galactic Council dreadnoughts. "By the cosmic egg," Zixnera gasped. "It's their command ship." In space, the new arrival's presence was immediately felt. It emitted a pulse that seemed to reinvigorate the remaining Voidborn ships. Their erratic movements became more coordinated, their attacks more precise. On the Prometheus, Jane felt a chill run down her spine. "All ships, fall back and regroup," she ordered. "We need a new plan." As the combined fleet retreated to a defensive position around the Galactic Council station, Jane called an emergency meeting with the other fleet commanders. "We can't win in a straight fight," she told the assembled alien leaders. "That command ship is too powerful. We need to think outside the box." For a moment, there was silence. Then, a Luminian captain spoke up. What if we could use our light-bending technology to create a massive illusion? Make them think our fleet is larger than it is." A Petran commander nodded enthusiastically. "And we could use our gravitational weapons to create artificial wormholes, confuse their sensors." Ideas began to flow freely. Tactics that would have been dismissed as foolish or impossible just hours ago were now being seriously considered. Jane listened, a smile growing on her face. This was humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy, not advanced technology or powerful weapons, but the ability to imagine the impossible and make it reality. "All right," she said, silencing the excited chatter. "Here's the plan. We're going to throw everything we have at them, every crazy idea, every impossible tactic. And while they're trying to figure out what's hit them, we're going to take out that command ship." She turned to her tactical officer. "How's our antimatter reserves?" The officer's eyes widened. "Captain, you can't be serious. Using antimatter weapons this close to the galactic core cold could win us this war," Jane finished. "Sometimes you have to roll the hard six." As the plan was put into motion, the battlefield became a chaos of light, gravity, and impossible physics. Voidborn ships found themselves facing opponents that weren't there, flying into wormholes that shouldn't exist, and being attacked by weapons that defied the laws of nature. In the midst of this cosmic madness, the Prometheus, cloaked by Luminian light-bending tech and propelled by aeroform cyclone engines, slipped behind enemy lines. "All hands, brace for impact," Jane warned as they approached the massive Voidborn command ship. "Helm, set collision course. Weapons, prepare to detonate the antimatter warhead on my mark." As the Prometheus streaked towards its target, Jane took one last look at her crew. Humans working alongside aliens, about to risk everything to save the galaxy. "It's been an honor," she said simply. Then, mark. The antimatter warhead detonated, and for a moment, a new star was born in the heart of the galaxy. The Voidborn command ship, along with a significant portion of their fleet, was vaporized instantly. As the light faded, the remaining Voidborn ships seemed to lose cohesion. Without their central command, they reverted to their base nature, formidable but uncoordinated. The combined fleet, led by Earth's innovative tactics, pressed their advantage. Within hours, the last Voidborn ship had been destroyed or driven off. As cheers erupted across the fleet, Jane allowed herself a moment of relief. They had done it. Against all odds, humanity had turned the tide of the war. But as she looked out at the stars, she knew this was just the beginning. The Voidborn threat had been pushed back, but not eliminated. Earth and its new allies would need to remain vigilant. The galaxy had changed forever, and humanity, once considered primitive and isolated, now stood at the forefront of a new era of galactic cooperation and innovation. The tide had turned, but the adventure was far from over. Humanity's triumph and galactic recognition. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with excitement. Representatives from hundreds of alien races filled the chamber, their diverse forms creating a living tapestry of galactic life. At the center of it all stood a group of humans, still adjusting to the gravity generators and trying not to stare at their extraordinary surroundings. Captain Jane Rodriguez of the HMS Prometheus stood at the forefront, flanked by Dr. Samantha Chen and a delegation of Earth's leaders. Jane's uniform, bearing the newly minted insignia of the Earth Space Force, gleamed under the soft light of the chamber. High Counselor Zixnera approached the podium, her 7 eyes blinking in sequence as she surveyed the assembly. The chamber fell silent. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council," Zixnera began, her voice resonating through the hall, "we gather today to recognize an unprecedented event in our history. For the first time since the founding of this council, we welcome a new race to our ranks, one that has proven itself not through centuries of technological advancement, but through courage, innovation, and an unbreakable spirit." She turned to the human delegation. "Humanity, step forward." As Jane and her companions moved to the center of the chamber, murmurs rippled through the crowd. Many of the alien representatives were seeing humans in person for the first time. "Just months ago," Zixnera continued, "we faced extinction at the hands of the Voidborn. Our most advanced weapons were useless. Our greatest strategists were outmaneuvered. Hope was fading." Her mandibles clicked in what the humans had learned was a sign of respect. Then came humanity, a species we had long ignored, deemed too primitive to join our ranks. They took our technology, combined it with their own in ways we never imagined, and turned the tide of war. Holographic displays around the chamber sprang to life, showing footage from the final battle. The assembled aliens watched in awe as human ingenuity and bravery were showcased alongside the combined might of the galactic fleet. The Thompson device, which nullified the Voidborn's phase-shifting abilities, Zixnera narrated. The Mendoza swarms, a biological weapon that adapted faster than the Voidborn could counter. And tactics that defied conventional wisdom, yet proved devastatingly effective. The holograms showed the Prometheus's final run against the Voidborn command ship, ending with the blinding flash of the antimatter warhead. In one bold stroke, Zixnera said, her voice filled with emotion, "Humanity accomplished what we could not in years of conflict. They drove back the Voidborn and saved our civilization." She turned back to the human delegation. "Captain Jane Rodriguez, step forward." Jane moved to stand before Zixnera, her back straight and her eyes forward. "Captain Rodriguez," Zixnera said, "your bravery and leadership turned the tide of the greatest war our galaxy has ever known. In recognition of your service, and as a symbol of humanity's new place in the galactic community, I present you with the Star of Cosmic Valor, our highest honor." As Zixnera placed the shimmering medal around Jane's neck, the chamber erupted in applause. Species that had been bitter enemies for millennia cheered together, united by their shared gratitude. Dr. Samantha Chen, Zixnera called next. Sam stepped forward, her lab coat a stark contrast to the ornate alien garments surrounding her. Your scientific insights and your ability to bridge the gap between human and alien technology were instrumental in our victory. The Galactic Council hereby grants you full access to our combined scientific archives and invites you to lead a new cross-species research initiative. Sam's eyes widened at the honor. The scientific knowledge she would have access to was beyond her wildest dreams. As the ceremony continued, each member of the human delegation was recognized for their contributions. But it wasn't just about honoring individuals. This was humanity's introduction to the galactic stage. From this day forward, Zixnera announced, Earth is a full member of the Galactic Council, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. Your ships may travel our spaceways. Your people may visit our worlds. And in turn, we look forward to experiencing the rich culture and unique perspective that humanity brings to our cosmic family. The implications were staggering. Humanity, in one fell swoop, had gained access to technology, knowledge, and opportunities beyond anything they had imagined. As the formal ceremony concluded, the chamber turned into a bustling meet and greet. Alien diplomats crowded around the humans, eager to establish ties with the galaxy's newest rising power. Jane found herself approached by Xalfar, the Zenthari commander she had fought alongside. Captain Rodriguez, he said, his crystalline form shimmering. The Zenthari Confederation would be honored to establish a military exchange program with Earth. Your tactics, they are unorthodox, but undeniably effective. Before Jane could respond, a gaseous aeroform diplomat floated up. Earth's atmospheric sciences are of great interest to us, it whistled. We propose a joint colonization effort on gas giants previously thought uninhabitable. From every corner, offers and propositions poured in. Trade agreements, cultural exchanges, joint scientific ventures, the opportunities seemed endless. Amidst the excitement, Sam pulled Jane aside. Can you believe this? She whispered, her eyes shining. A few months ago, we thought we were alone in the universe. Now we're the guests of honor at a galactic party. Jane smiled, but there was a hint of worry in her eyes. It's incredible, she agreed, but it's also a huge responsibility. We're not just part of Earth's history now. We're part of the galaxy's. As if sensing their conversation, Zixnera approached the two women. Your concerns are valid, she said, her alien features somehow conveying warmth. The path ahead will not be easy. The Voidborn, though defeated, are not destroyed. Other challenges will arise, but that is why your presence here is so vital. She gestured around the chamber. Look at them, she said. For millennia, these species have been set in their ways, bound by tradition and ancient rivalries. Humanity has shown us a new way, a way of adapting, of thinking beyond limitations. You've reminded us what it means to reach for the stars. As Zixnera spoke, Jane and Sam realized the true magnitude of what had been accomplished. Humanity hadn't just saved the galaxy, they had reinvigorated it, challenged it to grow and change. The party continued long into the night, a celebration not just of victory, but of new beginnings. As starships of 1,000 designs glittered outside the station's windows, one thing became clear: the galaxy would never be the same again. And humanity, for better or worse, was now at the heart of it all. The tribes of Earth, once confined to a single blue marble in a vast cosmic ocean, were now citizens of the galaxy. Their triumphs, their struggles, their very destiny was now irrevocably linked with the great tapestry of cosmic life. As Jane looked out at the star-filled vista, a mixture of excitement and trepidation filled her. The war was over, but humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning.